Hi, my name is Teya Y, and I am an alcoholic. And I'm going to tell you what it was like, what happened, and what I'm like now, with much more focus on what happened getting through to where I am today and how I am today, and how being willing saved my life and keeping a promise saved my life. What it was like, well, I went from casual drinking to literally a closet drinker, drinking in my closet, hiding bottles, emptying the recycling at night so neighbors wouldn't hear all the clanging of the glass. And I drank until I passed out for probably a year. But I went on quite the bender over the holidays in 2014. So in January of 2015, my organs just decided, well, we've had enough. We've had all we can take. I was alcoholically anorexic. I would try to eat, and I simply couldn't. So I was extremely malnourished. And once I got to the hospital, they discovered, that I had pancreatitis, acute renal failure, and elevated liver counts, like excessive. And I remember the physician assistant saying to me that was the highest liver count she had seen. And my super sick ego immediately thought, well, she's only in her early 30s. How much could she have possibly seen? And when I think back to that, wow, it should have been like a big warning, which she was trying to give, but I simply couldn't hear it and didn't want to. I ended up going to IOP, and I really just had that same ego and attitude, like, oh, I'm going to be a one and done. But I continued to drink all through IOP until I just felt so sick and tired of lying and covering that up 4 nights a week that I went to my IOP counselor and I said, I'm drinking. And she said, I have an idea. How do you feel about making a promise? And I said, sure, fine. And she said, if you don't get this down, if you can't stay sober, will you go to inpatient? And boy, I was not prepared for that promise, but I said, sure, I guess so, because my cockiness was like, oh, I'm going to get this. I can outthink and outmaneuver this disease, which at the time I didn't know it was a disease. So what ended up happening is rather embarrassing, but funny at the same time, because we have to laugh, is I told the people that were in my house that I was drinking a clear alcohol, straight from the bottle. And I didn't tell them that I had hidden one that was red. And so what happened is I fell down the stairs and the red alcohol came out of my nostrils, and they thought I was bleeding. They thought I had a head injury. So they called 911, and that is how I ended up agreeing to keep my promise. I was in the emergency room for several hours. People treated me like garbage. And all of a sudden, in walked that IOP counselor, and she got really, really close to my face and said, well, T, do you remember your promise? And I said, yeah, I do. And she goes, well, what's it going to be? Are you going to be a woman of your word? She had me. I felt like that's all I had left, and I couldn't seem to beat this. So I went to inpatient. They asked me when I called that center if I was willing to do whatever it takes. And you know what? I was reluctant, but I was. And it ended up saving my life. At this point, I am over 6 years sober. And I am telling you, my willingness and that promise are exactly what I needed to do and have in order to be here to talk to you today. And I just have the utmost gratitude for that. Now, let me tell you something about inpatient treatment. I did not want to be there. I walked in and I didn't want to be there, but my own heart knew I needed to be. That inpatient treatment center taught me how to meditate. They taught me what real willingness, surrender, and acceptance were. And while intellectually we know what that means, I knew what it meant, but my heart was not connected to that at all. By the time I left 30 days later, it was. They taught me how to be of service, get out of my own head, go over to the gal that's just curled up in a ball and talk to her. What's going on with her? I learned how to pray and be mindful. And I didn't know how to stop drinking and stay stopped. I actually go back and do service work there now, which is amazing. I have been ever since I left, to be honest, because I remember being there and listening to women that would come in and say, I left this place 6 months ago, And I've been sober ever since. And I remember thinking, wow, 6 whole months without a drink? How do you do it? Let alone the people that had all those decades. So what I'm like now, I'm sure you can hear in my voice. I am so grateful, and I glow from the inside out. I mean that with the utmost humility, because I never thought I could be of service. I never thought I'd be given the gift of being a messenger of hope for people who are still suffering and struggling, and the people who love them. So thank you so much. I am telling you with the utmost gratitude, I am thankful for today and grateful to be a part of saving or leaving this message for you. You know, ultimately going to treatment, doing the work, being of service has truly taught me, really how to uncover the Teya that was buried underneath tons of empty liquor bottles. So thank you